Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. I am Rob, your host, and with me, as always, Carter. How you doing, buddy?
I am great. How are you?
We are on the road again.
Yeah, we got a nice little view out here, too.
Beautiful view. Beautiful view. We are back over visiting in Austin with Chris Ruhland. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
And everybody who's listening to this episode, if you haven't listened to our episode previously done with Chris, which is on champagne, Chris wrote a book, a fantastic book for people trying to get into champagne or understanding champagne, Press for Champagne. And I'll let you talk a little bit real quick just to plug your book again, but definitely go back and listen to that episode if you haven't. I think it was a lot of fun, and you gave out some great information.
Thanks, Rob. I really appreciate it. I loved that episode. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, Press for Champagne is my guide to everybody becoming a better champagne drinker, which is something I think we all aspire to be. And the book is available on Amazon.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we also found out in that episode that you are a whiskey drinker, and you've kind of gotten into this.
Oh, yeah. So I've been drinking whiskey longer than I've been drinking wine, really. I started drinking whiskey when I was in college. And then bourbon, scotch. So actually, it was really my way into wine and spirits was through whiskey.
So when we think about whiskey today and you say it to somebody, the assumption is that when you say, I'm into whiskey, they kind of go, are you a collector? Because that's kind of, if you're a wine guy, you're collecting wine. If you're a bourbon guy or a scotch guy, you're kind of collecting. Are you at that level where you're starting to build a collection?
So I have never been a collector,
Okay.
And I am a drinker. So when I buy bottles, I buy them to drink, so I don't store a lot of whiskey. But and sometimes I'll get a very nice bottle, and it's hard when you crack it open. You think, okay, am I really going to do this? Am I going to crack open this really expensive bottle? But then a long time ago, I got over it. Like I had a very expensive bottle of scotch that I just didn't open for years. And then one day I just asked myself, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Well, why are you staring at this bottle? And ever since then, I just drink the stuff.
Yeah. That's a good approach, for sure.
It helps the pocketbook a little bit.
It does indeed. I have a bit of a problem not having. I mean, I have a lot of unopened bottles, and I probably should.
Yeah, but there's nothing I don't think that we wouldn't open. We collect because we want to have it's just kind of when they're available to be able to get them and have them. So when you do want to open them, but
for sure.
But I'm trying to validate why we do what we do.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a power flex type thing.
For you?
You look at the collection and you're just like, wow.
Well, there's that, but actually there is a benefit to collecting too that I think is very practical. I was thinking about this today because there's a bottle of champagne I have, a couple bottles of champagne actually, that I paid certain price for them. They weren't cheap in 2019. And then the maker of this particular champagne became this cult figure. And I just looked today actually, and the bottles are now more than 3 times the price of what I paid for them, which I'm not going to pay the price. So when I look back, I think, stocking up would have been a really good idea in 2019.
Oh, yeah. And in the bourbon world, that happens all the time.
Well, we should probably, and speaking of that, we should probably mention what we're trying right now.
Yeah, because talk about what you poured in our glass, but I want to let everybody know when you're done talking about that, you and I need to have a little intervention with Chris. So
Yeah. So what's in the glass is it's a Wild Turkey 101 from I think around the 2000 time period, back when we had kind of a glut on bourbon, and this kind of stuff was just sitting on the shelf for like $9.99, and it doesn't sell for that now. So just a little piece of history. Like when it comes to bourbon, when they had this glut of bourbon, they were throwing much older than the age statement stuff.
Yeah, when you see that aged 8 years, that's the minimum.
Yeah, that's the minimum.
There's probably bourbon in there that's 12 to 15 years old.
Yeah, and so they had to get rid of it somehow. and they were blending some of this old stuff off into their shelf product or whatever.
And couldn't sell it here, so where did that go, Carter?
Oh, it went Asia.
Yeah,
mostly.
Most of it. So this is a bottle that came from Asia.
Yeah, that's another thing about bourbon. You'll see a lot of just Japanese specific releases and things like that. It's just because during the market or during the time period when we were drinking clear spirits, they were not. They were the consumers that were keeping the bourbon industry alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. When I started buying bourbon, it wasn't a big deal. You just went to the store, you picked it up, you took it home, and it was great stuff, but it wasn't a collector's item.
Yeah. So cheers. Let's give it a go.
Okay, time for our quick intervention before we get into today's episode.
Okay.
About a little over a month ago, Carter, we did a top 5 episode.
We did.
On overrated food chains.
Uh-huh.
Restaurants, fast food, whatever it might be.
I know where we're going now.
We have Chris here who, after that episode, he listened to it and we had a conversation. And he had a disagreement with us on one of our overrated.
Wasn't it the number one?
It was our number one. So we're going to give Chris a chance, and he'll like this word as an attorney, to defend himself.
I am so glad you raised this topic because I love that episode. It was one of my favorite episodes, actually. I was on a walk listening to it, and I was laughing out loud. And people who were walking by must have wondered what's going on. It was hilarious. I agreed with 95% of what you guys said, and you said it so well. But then when you got to In-N-Out Burger, I just wanted to climb into the phone and be on that podcast. Here's the issue. Here's why you guys could not be any more wrong. Okay. First of all, your whole attack on the double-double is based on the idea that you should be able to buy a single. You shouldn't have to buy a double. But here's the thing. This is their signature product, the double-double. It would be like going to a Mexican restaurant and they tell you, hey, here is our signature margarita. This is the best thing we do. You don't try that. You just try the other margaritas. And then you walk away and say, oh, they're not good at making margaritas. This is their thing. It doesn't matter. Would it make you happier if they took both patties and smashed them together and make one big patty? It is such a good burger.
So why do they offer a single? If that's the signatures, that should be the baseline of a good burger. That's where we start.
Well, here's the thing.
Why do they offer the single?
Because there are some people who only want a single, but you're really not supposed to buy the single. You're supposed to buy the double-double. Okay. That's the thing. It's called the home of the double-double. Like, this is
I didn't know this.
thing.
Did you know this?
I didn't know it was called the home of the double-double.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my argument here. Okay, so we're both...
Well, let's start about... give them a couple of... there were some good things about the burger that we really liked.
Oh, yeah. So
the lettuce, the tomato...
very fresh. Really enjoyed that. I like it. It was a nice, crisp piece of lettuce on there. The bun was nice. I did like that. My biggest issue is that, if... we both are Whataburger fans.
Right, I know.
And so my biggest issue there is I can order just a regular hamburger there, and it's good.
I know, but you guys keep getting stuck on that, but you're missing the point. This is their burger that you're supposed to eat. You're not supposed to eat the single. Leave that for some little kid or somebody who just wants a single.
You kind of said what I said.
But that's fine. But again, I know you guys can afford the double-double, right? It's not like... it's something you can't do. Get the double-double. That's what you're supposed to get.
Now, I'll give you credit and acknowledge that I didn't know that this is their standard. This is their signature burger, the double-double. I didn't know that. What I did know was ordering animal style,
Yeah, so that's the other thing. The other thing, you talked about the fries. And, fries are a topic where people have... actually, it's interesting because I totally agree with Carter about Chick-fil-A fries. Don't like them. I don't think they're good.
Can't all be right.
Right, but...
Thank you.
But with respect to In-N-Out, going back to their fries, I know you said they're too small. You want to pick up one fry and have one fry. I typically pick up multiple fries anyway, so I like the size of the fries. But the other thing is get the animal-style fries. Because when they pour all that goodness on top of the fries, then what you do is you take a fork and eat them with a fork.
Okay.
It's unbelievable.
It's like a poutine.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it. So go back there.
I'm going to do
double and get the animal style fries. Take both of those home, have that meal, and then tell me that you don't like it.
I'm going to do the same thing, the same comparison, see if it levels it up a little bit. But the other criteria that we had was cost.
Yeah.
Because the Whataburger single was about the same price as the meal at In-N-Out.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how much you got to jump up to get something that's equivalent to Whataburger. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, price-wise, I think it's all fast food. It's not incredibly expensive.
Quality food,
I mean, look at this whiskey we've got on this table here. We're going to argue about the 75 cents on a burger. But, I mean, anyway, that's my defense of In-N-Out.
Yeah.
And we got to let people know, if you don't know, Chris is originally from the home of In-N-Out.
That's true.
California. So this is something you've grown up with, and and it's weird because I don't understand it. Every time I talk to somebody about In-N-Out that's, grown up on it or from California, they're very passionate about it.
It really is something. But I mean, I would say
it's a touchy subject.
I would say here we're pretty passionate about the Whataburger thing.
A little bit, yeah.
But look, I have, generally speaking, actually liked the In-N-Out burger, but like I gotta at least have a double.
Yeah,
and now we know. Now we know.
You do
at minimum. But I think for our comparison, we were just kind of rolling off just the base model, and that's
and we didn't know. I didn't know. If you did, we didn't talk about it. That the doubles their standard. So I don't think you knew that, did you? That's what
I didn't know. That
it's their signature.
Or their
like
signature.
If you look on the menu, it's like in big letters, and it's.
Well, I didn't get it from there, so that would be you.
Well, anyway.
Well, you told me to get just a single burger, and I got it.
So, but anyway, I did love that episode. It was, if anybody hasn't listened to it, they should go back. It was hilarious. And my favorite line was when you said you were talking about Subway, and you said you got frustrated. You were talking about all the deficiencies that you found, and you said, Subway's got to step up its game, and which is hilarious because it's like, it's just Subway, it's like Subway is going to be Subway, but it was so funny. You guys had great comments. It was.
Well, and I think Subway has tried to step up their game. They just, the things they've come up. Well, I don't want to go too far off. That's another podcast.
Should we bring it back around to the topic of the day?
Yeah, the topic of today, bourbon.
Yes,
and Tater bourbon. And to be honest, we did a podcast a couple weeks ago, Carter, where we talked about just kind of where we were in bourbon and chasing things, and talked about why you shouldn't have to chase all the Tater bottles, that are out there. There's plenty of good stuff. And I got a lot of comments, and it worked out perfectly because we had already talked to Chris about recording this episode with him. But I was getting some questions and some messages about, well, what would you have in place of those? So we were talking to Chris about doing, an episode, and it worked out perfectly about talking about Tater bottles.
Yeah.
What are 5 really big kind of taterish bottles? And then what would be our replacement bottles for those that are on the shelf every day?
Yep.
And we don't know each other's lists.
No.
But we are going to let you know the 5 bottles that we're calling the Tater bottles. And we tried very hard not to have them all be from one distillery, Buffalo Trace. But ultimately, we ended up picking 5 bottles.
5 bottles from Buffalo Trace. Yeah, it's kind of hard to stay away from those guys because it is the most allocated product, so it is the most Tater product.
Yeah, I actually think it's fine to do it that way, and I think it's a good way to organize it is look at those 5 bottles we're going to talk about because there are substitutes, and those bottles are very difficult to find.
They are difficult. And if you really think about it, they're the most Tater bottles. When you think about, there's other allocated bottles, but when you think about the ones that people are really looking for, let's be honest, it's the Weller line or anything from Buffalo Trace.
Yep. So, I agree.
So we picked out the 5, which are Eagle Rare, and then we're going to go to Blantons.
Yep.
And then we're going to go to E.H. Taylor Small Batch, Bottled in Bond.
Okay.
And then a Weller bottle, which is Antique 107 we settled on.
Yep.
And then we're finishing off with Stagg. Used to be formerly Stagg Jr., but he's grown up now.
Should we put a 6 in there, Weller 12?
I thought about that, but it's a 90 proofer. We got Eagle Rare, 12-year, 10-year. I mean, we could.
Yeah.
If you wanted to throw it in as a wild card.
Well, let's go through our list. Let's go through the
We'd
list.
be throwing a curveball at Chris because we didn't give him that to have some time to think about it.
Okay.
It's okay. Well, we'll go through our list and see where we go.
Okay. So we're going to go from proof, from lowest proof to highest proof. Mm-hmm. And we'll throw out the first one. We'll each give and then we'll go that way. You know, we'll all give our replacement bottle, not going through all 5 each, but one by one. So I'm going to defer to one of you two gentlemen to go first for the Eagle Rare.
Okay, so on Eagle Rare, the thing about Eagle Rare is the age statement, and that's the thing that kind of rings for me. There is you get a 10-year-old for a reasonable price. Problem is you can't find it. And if you do find it, you buy it, right? I mean, if I pass by and see Eagle Rare, most of the time I'm going to buy that bottle. But it's so rare to see that. So one thing I kind of debated about this over in my mind, and I actually fell on this Calumet product. So like Calumet has like a 14, 15, and they're releasing a 16. Right.
Okay, this is an illustration of Carter being the baller that he is.
Yeah,
Gosh,
this is an over $100 bottle, but
replacing a $30 bottle.
Yes, but it's within the same proof range, and it's available, and you can actually, to me, it tastes better. I mean, it's just a better pour. So I did kind of go a little spendy on the first one, but I think it's worth it. I think this one's
is this a sign of things to come with your list?
Nope, it's not. It's the one spendy thing that I have on there.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
But I think that's great. So what I think is interesting, and we're going to find it's interesting, is we all look at this in different ways and for different bottles. I think that's, availability is a big issue. Like how, if you can't find it and you can't get it at retail and you can only get it on the secondary market, what's the point unless you're willing to spend these ridiculous prices? So I like that. I like.
You like this pick? Are you good with his pick?
Yeah. Here's the other reason I selected this one specifically. It's from I believe the source on this is 1792, which is a company that's owned by Sazerac. It has a similar profile to me to stuff that comes out of Buffalo Trace.
There's a tie to Buffalo Trace, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think that you're kind of.
Is there a little banana on that one?
Yeah, a little bit. But this has got a great mouthfeel. That's what she said. It really does. Buddy. It really does. But
so you're okay with that pick, Chris?
I'm okay with everybody's picks in general. I'm curious.
I got a little pushback on that one just because of price.
Okay. That's a
spendy bottle.
I know what I'm doing here.
Okay.
I'm being Carter. Right? I mean,
it's all about approach. You took a different approach than I did. I looked at retail of these bottles and tried to find something similar, but that's my approach.
Hey, it's like when you
might laugh at my pick. You might go, "You're a moron."
It's kind of like when you're out on the golf course and you got the choice of bringing out the driver or laying up.
Yeah,
I'll bring out the driver
off the deck.
Yeah,
okay.
There you go. But see, the other thing too is if we all picked the same thing, it wouldn't be as interesting. So hopefully we have some different ideas.
Clearly we do.
Yeah. I had a feeling Rob would have a comment about this.
I'm going to defer to Chris now.
Great. Well, so my pick here is in a different direction. I took a lower cost bourbon. It's also available, although availability again depends on where you are and what's going on. But I saw it on the shelf at 2 different places just the other day. It is also 90 proof. It's also a low rye mash bill like Eagle Rare is, and it's not 10 years. It's more like 8 years. It tastes to me quite similar, and it is called Buffalo Trace.
Oh, okay.
I would agree.
Did you see this coming?
Yeah.
In Texas, we are blessed that's on the shelf almost everywhere for us. That and Weller Reserve.
Yeah. So
people listening might go, "Well, that's bull crap because I can't find that anywhere," like in Florida.
Well,
So you're going by what you can get in your market, which is totally fair.
Well, and again, I understand any particular place you go, availability differs. But the thing about Buffalo Trace to me is, it's when you can find it, and like I say, I think it's fairly available. You can also find it online at retail. It's about $27. But again, the taste profile, I think it's not as complex and long, but you get the same
mash bill.
Same mash bill. And so what you're getting, to me, is that same smooth character where you get a lot of orange peel and honey and a lot. There's also this herbal note to it, which I think is interesting that you see in Eagle Rare. So I think it's not as long as Eagle Rare. Like it's kind of pulls up a little short in the finish, but I'm very happy to have that and not be chasing down bottles of Eagle Rare.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Your approach was trying to find something similar in the palate. I will preface my picks by going, that's sometimes hard to do. So I tried to stay around what I thought was a quality product, close to the proof. That was kind of what I was looking at. But I don't have a problem with Chris's pick. What do you think about it?
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's market dependent on what you can get, right? But we picked a Buffalo Trace.
We did?
Yeah, we still haven't gotten it.
We got to get Chris. We'll get you a bottle.
We'll get you a bottle for sure.
If it ever comes in.
Yeah. Maybe they lost it. Who knows? But I remember going through it and well, of course I loved it way more at Cash Drink, but
Stagg.
it's got that. It does have that personality for sure. I'd say my opinion would be, if you can get Buffalo Trace, that's great. If you can get the picks, they're generally even better.
Sure.
But another thing to think about, with Eagle Rare, and I've been told this, they age Eagle Rare lower in the rick house. So it tends to pick up a little bit more of a dusty note to it.
So you're saying they don't have to add as much water to proof it down, so it should have a little bit better flavor.
Yes.
Sense,
that's my understanding.
Okay.
So so anyway, just to point out some differences between Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare.
Exactly. It's not right. Even though it's the same mash bill, it's not the same bourbon for the reasons you mentioned. I think Buffalo Trace is typically aged something like 8 years, and so they're different for sure. I just think you're right, Rob. It's interesting. My approach to this whole thing was as best I could, except for the last pick, was to go with flavor profile. I'm a big flavor guy. My thing is, I'm interested in flavor and taste, and so that's as best I could. That's where I tried to go,
and I think that's fair. I will just say my approach was thinking, you're not going to get anything, really similar to a lot of these, in my opinion. And you brought up a good one with Buffalo Trace. But so I went, value-wise, retail, not secondary.
Obviously,
proof. And do I think it's a quality drink, or do I like it for my palate and enjoy it? And so that's kind of how what was your approach, Carter, now that we're talking about this?
I don't know. It was kind of all over the board. No, I mean, that was the one.
Well, I'm just saying,
you
let off with that. I mean, that's a leadoff hitter right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what's cleanup coming up.
Well, let's go on. Let's move on.
So my pick for what you can get every day on the shelf, not Eagle Rare, that's still a quality bourbon from a quality producer, also about that $30 to $35 range, 90 proof, aged 10 years, and says it on the bottle.
Okay.
Any ideas?
No.
Russell's Reserve.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Which I think, obviously I like the single barrel better at 110 proof. I just live in that kind of world. But if somebody poured me that 90 proofer Russell's at still 10 years, I still think it's a solid pour.
Yes.
So that's my.
I agree.
What you can go get on the shelf any market.
That's your honorable mention?
No, that's my.
That's his.
That was your. Oh, you didn't even say yours. So
that's mine.
Good. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good pick.
I do too.
And very available.
Very available, and not $129.
Rob's not going to let this go.
Well, okay. So should we try just a little bit of this,
Sure.
Just so you can
That'd be terrific.
see if you like it?
See how it holds up to that $10 bottle we just had?
Oh shoot! Yeah. ain't $10 anymore, brother. I can tell you that. And I'll pour little pours because I think we're going to go through some stuff today.
Little pours, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go. Well, I gave you more because, you're a
Trying
big
to
dog.
shut me up.
Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about availability because, again, I've been buying bourbon for a long time at retail. And I think I was telling you, I used to go to Bevmo, which was where I used to go in
Specks
LA.
of California.
Right. And you had just bottles of Blantons just lined up, no problem. And it wasn't a big deal. Like, I didn't go there thinking, oh, my gosh, they have Blantons, or I better get some or stock up. I thought, I'll buy this bottle, and then a few weeks later, when I'm done with it, I'll go to Bevmo and buy another bottle of Blantons. It was not a big deal. So this is very new to me. Well, it's not new because it's been going on for some time now, but for a few years. But in the history or trajectory of my bourbon drinking, this is an unusual bump in the road, essentially.
Yeah, and I hope it's just a bump in the road.
Well, pretty much everything is. Everything changes.
Yeah.
Y'all try that?
No, not yet. I will say, Chris, and I don't know if this is just Northern California, Napa area, San Francisco, when we travel up there for wine, I find Eagle Rare all the time, and I'm always packing it in the suitcase to bring it back. So it's one of those areas that, for whatever reason, it's called Ohio always has 107. You have these little pockets, but that's one area. If you go to Napa and you're into bourbon at all, and you look for Eagle Rare,
you can likely find it.
You can likely find it up there.
It used to be like that in Louisiana, too.
Did it really?
I could go to Louisiana and get Eagle Rare easily.
Yeah.
And you never find it here. But anyway.
Drinking this, I'm going to defend Carter's pick here from a flavor and taste perspective.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nose is fantastic. On the palate, fantastic. Price point, a little high.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's.
I'm just kidding.
I'm on brand. I'm on brand right now.
Yeah. Now this is, it's quite good, but it's also good in the same way that Eagle Rare is. In other words, you don't get as much of that rye and spice, and you get more of the softer caramel.
Yeah.
Big caramel.
Flavors. Yeah.
Big kind of brown sugar, I get.
Yeah. I even get like a little bit of a coffee vibe at the end.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, and I like that in whiskey, like maybe like a cocoa powder coffee kind of, like.
And this is a 15-year. I mean, so this has got some age.
It's got age on it for sure. I mean, and let's just be real. Like, what 15-year bottle just sits on the shelf?
That one.
Yeah, and it's quite good.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It's a memorable pour that this is something you drink and you just don't, just kind of skim over. You really go, whoa, hold on a second. Let me sip on this and really appreciate and analyze what I've got in the glass.
So we're going with, like we all have a different approach here, but I think that's good.
Yeah, and what this has too that my pick Buffalo Trace doesn't have is this has length. Like this thing goes on and on for a long time with these flavors that we've been talking about, which to me is very important in wine and spirits, and this has got it.
But to our defense, Chris, and I'm kind of pulling you in with me on this one, we picked $30 bottles that are aged 6 to 8 years, mine being a 10-year, yours 6 to 8, compared to a 15-year, 100. The expectation on this better be what we're getting in the glass.
I agree.
Reach that expectation.
I agree.
Ours, if it fell a little short, you went, it's $30. I'll still drink it.
Yeah.
My approach here was I kind of figured I had an idea what Rob was going to pick for this list, and so I kind of wanted to go a little bit
You wanted to be different?
Yeah.
I got you.
So there you go.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, what's number 2?
Well, we were just talking about it. A bottle Chris used to get all the time at Bevmo, Blantons.
Yeah, this is Blantons is it used to be my go-to bourbon, believe it or not.
Me too.
And it was something I drank all the time. So, well, I don't know if you want me to start.
Yeah,
I'm happy to start with
absolutely,
this one.
sure.
So the thing about Blantons to me, first of all, it's the only one that we're going to discuss today that is Buffalo Trace's second mash bill, the high rye, with the so-called high rye mash bill, right? And so you definitely get that with Blantons. To me, what it is it's classically flavored and constructed bourbon, where it's still got the soft, the vanilla, the cherries, and those things that you would expect, but it's got the spices. So it's got some of the cinnamon and cloves, and it's also, I think, honeyed too. And so to me, it's got that balance. It's an incredibly balanced bourbon. There's a reason people like Blantons. I mean, it is a classically balanced, flavorful bourbon.
Are you saying it's not the horsey on top?
I think it is a cool bottle.
It's a very cool bottle. But if you just drink the bourbon and analyze it, again, that higher rye content, it's classic bourbon. And so my pick, I think, is a very similar profile. It's a little bit higher proof. It's 100 proof, but also it's a higher rye. Now, this one's got more rye than Blantons, but I just think the taste profile is actually quite similar, and that would be Four Roses Single Barrel.
Oh, solid pick.
Very good.
And thank you. I appreciate that. And Blantons, of course, was really the first commercially available single barrel, I think 84 or something like that. And Four Roses, it's got that same, the fruit, the orchard fruit, but also the clear rye. I mean, you can't mistake the rye notes in Four Roses single barrel, but it's got this softness. So it's balanced. And again, to me, balance is very important in all kinds of wine and spirits, but particularly bourbon, and bourbon can get thrown out of balance. So that's my pick.
It's a solid pick, and you're right on the rye, because the single barrel on the shelf every day is the OB recipe, OBSV.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's 35% rye.
Correct.
So that's big rye on that one. But I think that's
it
was actually, I'll just let it out of the bag, my honorable mention.
Was
to
it?
that category. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of an oddball, but we're not going to be stepping up in price.
Okay. Glad to hear it.
Now, this time I took the approach of going more with a similar flavor profile.
Okay.
And this company is doing some really awesome stuff. It's not a Kentucky company, but it's called Chattanooga Whiskey.
I know where you're going with this.
And their cask strength, it's about
111 proof.
111 proof. To me, it's just an amped up Blantons. It tastes very similar in flavors. And you're looking at a $50-ish bottle, which is about what you would get Blantons for, if you found it retail. So I mean, to me, that's as close to the flavor profile of Mash Bill 2 that I've had.
Yeah.
I think that's a solid pick. I will say from my, do you have an issue? Have you ever had that?
I have. I agree. I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you've ever had that one, because it's kind of that craft distiller.
Yeah.
People see it.
And
I don't know
some
how
of
many
those
people
I
buy
don't
it.
particularly like,
Yeah.
but they have some real good hits.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff isn't good, but that's a solid one.
That's a solid one. I looked at Blantons being in that price range of, let's call it $50 to $65, depending on where you're at. It's also 93 proof. That's hard to hit, but it's a single barrel. So there's some good ones and some bad ones.
Yeah.
So my criteria was trying to stay in that price range as close as I could to the proof, and staying in a single barrel category, with it being a bourbon that I really enjoy drinking. And what I landed on again, and you guys might start to think that I'm a Wild Turkey fan, and I am. I'm not trying to just live there, but you know what I'm going with?
Mm-hmm. Just go ahead.
Kentucky Spirit.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a single barrel. It's 101 proof. It's aged 8 years, which is very similar. And it's still, Wild Turkey to me still has that big cherry kind of flavor on it, which I enjoy.
Yeah. And it's a little bit like bitier.
A little bit bitier, but it's a solid bourbon. I think a lot of people pass on the single bourbon, the single barrel version of what you might call Wild Turkey 101. But I think being a single barrel, they are a lot more unique, and you get some fun things from those versus just buying the 101 standard at $25. That's just a batched whiskey that you get the same profile every time.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
I agree with that too. I think that's a very good pick. I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Well, I think we all
This is great.
We all did pretty well on this one.
I think so too. I think so too.
Yeah. So what's
You remember number 3?
I can't remember.
We're going to go
107?
bottled and bond.
Oh,
E.F. Taylor.
100
E.H.
proof.
Taylor. Okay, cool. So
It doesn't have to be bottled and bond, but 100 proof E.H. Taylor, if you found a bottled and bond, fine.
Okay. So do you want me to go? I forgot what I picked for this, to be honest.
I'll go first. I know what. Yeah, you go.
Okay, I'll start first on this one.
Oh, okay. I know what it is.
I'm going to go to this is a small batch whiskey, 100 proof. Bottled and bond to me in today's world doesn't mean anything anymore. It's kind of cool to put on a bottle, but doesn't really mean a lot. So in this particular category, I didn't put much weight on that and trying to kind of stay in that category. I went with another distillery that I absolutely love. Any idea what it might be, Carter? Just a guess?
For the bottle and bond?
Yeah.
Are you going 1792?
No, I'm going Four Roses small batch select at 104 proof.
Oh, yeah, that's
which
good.
Which I think, you're still around that 100 proof. It's still a small batch whiskey. Maybe $5 more than what would be retail, because I think the the H. Taylor's now is like $45, $50, somewhere around there now. It bumped in retail.
Small batch select's about 60, isn't it?
No, I'm talking about the E.H. Taylor small batch.
Oh, yeah.
So small batch select is about 52 is when I can find it for it, small batch select. E.H. Taylor, it used to be a $35 bottle.
Oh,
it's about a $45. It just got bumped this year. So it's $5 to $7 more, depending on where you're at. But I think when you drink small batch select from Four Roses, if you've never had it, it's one of my favorite bourbons. It's just absolutely delicious with the 6 recipes that are in there.
It's to me a very less singular note.
Yes.
Than E.H. Taylor small batch. I like E.H. Taylor small batch because it's very cherry. Like I just feel like you're just like, this just got cherry. But it's less complex. It's almost like just not single note, but damn near close to single note.
Yeah.
And I do think that Four Roses small batch select, much more complex whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I like your pick just to talk about E.H. Taylor small batches, which is a whiskey I like very much. I don't drink it all the time, but I like it. And what I like about it, I look at it in this way. If you take it, to me, it's loaded with butterscotch and caramel. It is this, it's the low rye mash, and it is just incredibly luscious in that way with those really sweet, confectionery type flavors. And it's really soft on the palate. So I really like it. And I don't know if I should. I don't know if you.
No, you go right ahead. I think we're rolling right into it.
So my pick again. It's a little bit of a weird one in a way, but it is a 100 proof bourbon. It is very similar flavor profile, and it is John J. Bowman single barrel.
Oh well, yes.
And I know you guys are going to laugh at that, but. And by the way, if you can't find that, just get the Bowman Brothers small batch. It's 93 proof, but similar profile. And I know you know why. They're both owned by Sazerac, and that's where they get their distillate. Yeah. So, but here's the thing. And I think now they're not the same in part because I think the Bowman product, it ramps up the sweetness. Now you're getting like brown sugar, and it's a very confectionery. To the point where, some people might not prefer it, but because it's just triple distilled and all of that. But again, from a flavor perspective, which is again how I looked at this, if you want something similar to the Taylor small batch and you can't find it, this would be, I think, a very good substitute.
I agree. Correct me if I'm wrong. On the Bowman product, they get their distillate from Buffalo Trace, but they age it in Virginia. Is that how it works? Okay.
And they blend both mash bills.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Now, I've heard that they're not going to get their stuff from Buffalo Trace.
I've heard that too. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Moving forward. So that could make a big difference. But
it could, yeah. But for now...
absolutely. It's on the shelf.
I just the other day, because I happen to have, I don't have any Bowman single barrel, but I have the small batch, and I took the Taylor small batch and the Bowman small batch, which again 93 proof, and I just put them in glasses next to each other and just tried them. And if you do that, you will see there are striking similarities.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, and from mine, I've never done the direct comparison, but yeah, I've consumed both products, and I could see that totally.
Absolutely, and I like that pick. I actually would have never thought of that. It never, when I was coming up with what I was considering, that never was on my radar, and I think it's a great pick. I forgot all about it.
Yeah. Okay, so for mine, I went a little bit different, but it is bottled and bond.
Okay.
I went with the Whiskey Rose Series 1897 from Old Forester.
Okay.
It's on the shelf. I actually remember drinking it for the first time and not being impressed, and then I revisited it, and I really like it. Like, it's different type of flavor profile, but it's very banana. Like, and as a lot of Old Forester products.
I'm surprised that you didn't like it out of the chute, being the Old Forester guy that you are.
I don't know why. I guess
something just didn't strike with you.
And it may have been at the time, whatever I was eating or something, that sometimes that affects the way you perceive a whiskey or whatever. But I really enjoy it. It's, I don't know, $45 or something like that, $50.
Yeah.
So similar price range. And I just think they do a great job. Now, the thing that to note about Old Forester is that all of their warehouses or rick houses are like temperature controlled. So the aging process, the age statement on there is a little deceiving because
it may not reflect exactly how the barrel's been
yeah.
treated.
So even though it might be a slightly younger product, you're still getting
the effect from the barrel,
full year of age instead of maybe a quarter of a year. It's 3/4 of a year.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned this because this was on my list of things I considered for this. In fact, I just drank it the other day, so you could call it one of my honorable mentions.
Okay.
This was, I didn't ultimately pick it just because I, again, went with this flavor concept. And I think it's got a slightly different flavor. It's a little more rye, I think, in that mash bill. But in any event, it's my honorable mention.
Yeah.
Do you have an honorable? You want me to tell you my honorable mention real quick?
Yeah, go for it. I can't remember what mine was.
Mine was 100 proofer, a little bit less in cost, not readily available in Texas, but I think most of the country gets this. We can get it in neighboring Louisiana, so when you go or other people go, I have them bring back a bottle. Carter just gave me the head nod and the finger point.
Yeah.
What is it, Carter? Let him know.
Cooper's Craft.
That's exactly what
Stuff
it is.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
I can't believe I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, have you ever had it?
Yeah, I didn't think of it either.
Yeah, so another Brown-Forman product, but a delicious pour for $30-$35, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, it's really good.
Again, I didn't go by flavor because I'm thinking, man, it's just so hard to nail these profiles as far as flavor. For me, you guys did a great job. I just don't think that way. So I went more trying to get a really good whiskey, similar proof and price point, and I think Cooper's Craft is just
it's
delicious.
great.
Yeah. That was my honorable mention.
Okay.
Awesome.
Mine was 1792 Bottle and Bond for the honorable mention. I mean, it's...
To me, anything 1792 other than small batch is fantastic. I'm not a big fan of the small batch. You're not either?
I'm not either.
But bottled and bond and single barrel.
Their single barrels are good, like a barrel. The full proof is really good. So, I mean, I just think that bottled and bond is a nice product. If you can find it, great. They have pics of it often, and it's sometimes unavailable, sometimes it's available. I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss, but if you try hard enough, I think you can find it.
Yeah, if you look at multiple spots, I think you find it. And the big box stores seem to usually, I notice in yours is a Total Wine here.
Yeah.
You usually have it at least on the shelf, the full proof or the bottled or the
bottle and bond.
Bottled and bond.
Yeah.
May not be a pick like you said, but I think it's fairly available.
Yeah.
At least here in Texas.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a good alternative.
I think it's a great one. And you were, Chris, with the Old Forester.
Yeah.
Okay. Believe it or not, I've never had the Old Forester bottled and bond.
Oh, really? Well, I've got it here at my house, so we can have it later today.
Never had
it's
that.
Really
I'll pull it out for you.
Is it pretty good?
It's really good. Okay, so
Remember what's next?
Weller 107.
107?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is a unanimous pick by all three of us.
This is the one I'm going to see. That's funny. When we talked the other day, I said I thought there was one that could be unanimous. And of course, I didn't tell you what I was going to pick, and I don't know what you're picking, Carter. So go ahead.
I know me and Carter are the same.
Okay.
You're the wild card here, Chris,
Okay.
but I have confidence based on, I just think you're going to pick what we pick.
Let's count it down. 3, 2, 1.
Maker's Mark cast strength.
Yes.
I figured we would all be in agreement on this one. I don't know that there's a better bottle
I don't think so.
on the shelf for $35 that competes with a weeded product in general.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, because if you're talking Weller 107, you've got to pick a weeded bourbon,
Yes.
and so that really narrows it down. And then you're talking about a cask strength weeded bourbon that narrows it down. And the proof, I think, obviously Weller 107 is 107 proof. Maker's is 109.
Yep.
But the same weeded bourbon profile.
And delicious.
Delicious. I think that Weller 107 is a little more complex than Maker's, in my opinion, but other people may differ. That's why I brought this today, this specs pick of Maker's Mark cast strength, where all 10 barrel staves are from Maker's 46. I think this is really good because it's got that little bit of, it's got that French oak influence, so a little bit of the spices to it, and tones down the vanilla a little bit, which I think is pretty prominent in the normal Makers. And I think it's really interesting. But yeah, I figured this was going to be unanimous.
Yeah.
And to your point, I love these Maker's Mark private selects. I think they're really unique. They're really depending on the stave combinations, they can be really, really hits.
And I'm looking at yours, Chris. It's 108.4, and they're typically between 108 and 112, 113, right in that range. Yeah,
for sure.
And so good proof on them was my point.
No doubt. And I mean, honestly, this is the company I think that gets the least love that needs to get more love.
Yeah, absolutely. It was originally, Maker's Mark was a premium bourbon. There weren't a lot of premium bourbons, and this, and I think it still is. I mean, that's a thing about bourbon that I think is so interesting. I mean, a lot of these things haven't changed. It's just that perceptions change in terms of what's out there and what people chase. But a lot of this bourbon, the quality of it hasn't changed. You know what I mean? And I think if you look at Tennessee whiskey, for example, if you look at Jack Daniels, to me, it's a perfect story.
It's
Jack
bourbon.
Daniels.
Bourbon.
What's that?
It's bourbon.
Okay, it is technically bourbon. I know that.
I'm just kidding.
I know
They
it.
created their own.
I know it. I do know that.
I know you know.
I know if it's the legal definition of bourbon, they don't label it as such, and they could. But the point is with Jack Daniels, and I may be going slightly off topic here. Sorry, but just to say that Jack Daniels became this whole thing where it's like Jack and Coke, and people just mix it, and it's considered a mixer. But if you look back the history of it, it was a premium whiskey when it was released, and I personally think that if you still examine Jack Daniels on its own, don't mix it in Coke, and pay attention to it, it is quite good. And so it's just what people perceive or the changing fashion and styles. But to go back to your point about Makers, it should get love because Maker's Mark is an outstanding bourbon.
I agree.
I think, if I'm being honest, why it doesn't get as much love and respect like it should, because I agree with you, Chris, it's a fantastic bourbon. They have several in their lineup. I mean, every distiller might have a product I'm not a big fan of, but when you have multiple that I am, then I know you're doing a really good job, at least for my palate.
Right.
And they have multiple in their lineup, the 101, the cast strength. Even for a 90 proof pour, their standard, I'll drink it. And when I'm somewhere and that's what they have,
sure.
I'll take it.
Absolutely.
But I think they do such a good job marketing, and it's in everybody's face all the time, that people necessarily don't think, well, it can't be that good if you have to tell me about it all the time.
There's something to that. There's also something to people who are really into a product start to look down on a product that's popular
Yes.
with other people. So I talk about this. I don't know if I mentioned this in our Champagne podcast, but Veuve Clicquot.
We did talk a little
We did talk about that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with that. Veuve Clicquot is a very, very good champagne. It really is. And the problem is, and I have friends of mine who are big wine geeks, and they will come to me and they'll say, I just have one problem with something you said in your book. I don't agree with you about this Veuve Clicquot thing. They look at me like I'm crazy. And I just tell them, well, you know what? Go home, buy a bottle, sit by yourself. Don't sit with your friends and talk about it. And you tell me, drink the champagne, and you tell me this is not high quality champagne. And tell me why. And they can't, because it is. And the same thing I think Makers maybe suffers from the same type of phenomenon.
Yeah. There's another thing I'd add to this, and it's availability. For some reason, whiskey nerds don't like things that are available.
Right.
That was going to be something else I had.
Well, whiskey taters, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, Maker's Mark is always on the shelf. It's always there.
Right.
I think turkey kind of falls into that same category a little bit.
So what you're saying that taters complain because they can't find the stuff they want, but they don't want the stuff that's really good and right in front of them.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That is exactly what it is.
Okay.
So, but I think it's a mixture of the marketing and the availability aspect.
Well, and Chris, I always use the analogy of sports. If you're a winning franchise, the Yankees, you win. People just hate you because you're always in the limelight, so to speak. Same with the Cowboys or franchises like that. And I think that's kind of where Maker's Mark. I'd kind of put Woodford Reserve there too.
Yeah, I would.
I would too.
I get a little frustrated with Woodford just because
the proof.
They're always stuck on 90.4, and I think if they would play with that a little bit, I would be a bigger fan of a lot of their products. One thing I really enjoy about Maker's Mark is that they've really done some really cool products over the last few years, trying to stay up with the craze of bourbon. Mm-hmm. And I haven't had an FAE release.
I haven't either.
But I know that people go, it's absolutely fantastic. But this private select program they started a few years back is absolutely awesome.
Oh, yeah. And it's not a humble brag, but when we did get to pick one, one of the best experiences.
Oh, it's a science project. We had a blast doing that. Yeah.
Super fun doing it.
I agree. I think Maker's Mark, and we're talking about the cask strength and comparing it to Weller 107. But I think, when you look at wheated whiskeys, you made the comment there's not a lot. It really narrows it down. I'm a fan of the wheated profile.
I am too.
I really enjoy that, and I wish there were more out there. Larceny at 92 proof just doesn't hold up for me from Heaven Hill. If you get to their barrel proof, it's single, it's pretty good.
I mean, like some of the Old Fitz decanter stuff, that's pretty good, but that's...
Wheated's tough to find.
You know what? Part of it is, I think wheated bourbon is hard to make into a quality bourbon. Yeah, frankly, because you don't have, rye, which rye is a critical component, I think, in bourbon, in most bourbons, to create that balance and complexity. And you don't take that out, take something like wheat, which is a completely different profile. You're going to leave some people feeling like there's not much going on, or it's a flatter product. I do like wheated bourbons, but that's a thing about this. And you mentioned Woodford Reserve. It's got a flavor profile that some people don't prefer. But one of the things I love about bourbon, and we've been kind of talking about this today, is there's so many different styles and types. Yeah. You could feel like having one thing one night, having something else another night, or there's some breakfast bourbons, there's some evening bourbons. I'd say Maker's Mark is definitely a breakfast bourbon. Yeah. And so that's what I love about it, is it doesn't have to be on-off, where this product is good and that product isn't good. It can be situational, right? And it could be according to taste. My wife likes different bourbons than I like typically, right? So I might pour her one thing and I'll pour something else, and that's totally fine.
But wait. Your wife will drink bourbon with you?
My wife loves bourbon. Now, well, I want to say, when I met her long before we were dating, when I met her, she did not like bourbon. I've brought her along on bourbon to the extent that there will be nights when I don't want to drink bourbon and she does. So,
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. That's cool. That's cool.
Carter, I do want to say that Calumet is delicious.
it is. It's really delicious.
I just finished this. I've never bought a bottle. I've always thought maybe not worth what you would pay for it. I might buy a bottle of that. That's
It's really
delicious.
freaking good.
I want it too. I actually was thinking the same thing, Rob.
Yeah.
It's funny. I thought to myself, I'm like, I actually want to grab a bottle of that.
It's really damn
Chris, I'm
good.
kind of going, can we get some more? That's pretty good.
Well, since we're talking about
Way better than Eagle Rare.
the next pick, Stagg Jr.
This is a tough category.
Should we pour some of that little red guy?
Yeah, we were just talking about Jack Daniels, and this obviously isn't one that you would find on the shelf to
No, this is
substitute.
This is
It's-
definitely a tater
This
bottle.
is just a fun pour.
So can you talk about this?
Yeah, this is Jack Daniels' special release last year of 2021, which is their Coy Hill release, and they did several single barrels from Coy Hill, and Coy Hill is
it's the rick house at the highest point on the property.
elevation. Yeah. So most of these bottles, the lowest you could find as far as proof would be high 130s, and it would go all the way up into the high 140s. This year's release of this is cracking 155, 160. So hazmat in the bourbon world is exactly what this is proofed at, is 140.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be curious to see what you think, Chris. This is a delicious, absolutely delicious
Isn't
bottle.
it like on the nose? It just slaps you in the face.
It's not age stated, but on the neck wrap, they'll tell you when it went into bottle and when it was barreled, so you can figure it out.
Right.
This is a little over 9 years, just under 10 years old. So it's a great age on this. And when you're at that elevation,
Woo, wild stuff happens.
if you're used to bourbon and the proof to me doesn't beat you up that much, but if you're not, it might punch you a little bit.
My wife would fall over if you poured this for her.
Would she?
Yeah.
Should we give her a sample when
When she gets back,
Yeah.
we should say, hey, here's something really mild. See what you think.
This is definitely to me like a second sip. Like I always have this general rule of thumb, never judge anything by the first sip. Go for the second, and because you got to get let your mouth.
This is
get
a palate
used to it.
adjustment pour.
Yeah, for sure. But
But I will say this is actually in typical with what you see with Jack Daniels, but it's neat to see it at this proof. It is incredibly smooth, mellow
Yes.
whiskey. And so what I find interesting about this, and I've never had this before, and thank you for pouring it. What I find interesting is you get that Jack Daniels mellowness coming through at 140 proof, which sounds incongruous,
Yeah.
but I can definitely get that. Whereas other whiskeys, if you took them to something like this, it would be something completely different. So I think this is really interesting.
Yeah, and I'm glad you suggested we pour this because you were talking about Jack Daniels, and I absolutely think it's a bourbon that doesn't get enough love.
absolutely,
Like what I did there?
I do,
Yeah.
I do, and I've given something away on my Stagg Junior thing. I've always really liked their Jack Daniel's barrel proof, and particularly like when you can get a pick.
Single barrel proof.
Yeah, single barrel proof. If you can get a pick, they're usually really really
Fantastic.
good. So that's my segue to start off by saying my alternative to Stagg Junior would be Jack Daniel's single barrel proof.
Wow.
And it's pretty much on the shelf.
Yeah, you can get it.
Yeah. I like that pick.
It's about $55 or something like that,
Which is right in line with Stagg Junior at retail.
cool bottle. So that you score points there. And is it? It's a different flavor profile for sure. But I do think that if you're wanting something that has like a sweetness to it, like a mash bill 2 that's in mash bill 1 that's that Buffalo Trace produces. Jack Daniels has a sweet flavor profile, and I think that kind of can translate.
It's interesting. I had never thought of that, but now hearing you say that, I agree. You can get something similar. That's a very interesting comparison. I like that.
And the thing I really like about this Coy Hill, just going back to this, the esters, the banana, all that stuff is so
It's a
amped
flavor
up.
bomb.
It's like creme brulee.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like ridiculous. But you can get a lot of that same thing in the Jack Daniel's single barrel proofs.
You went in a direction I considered, but I couldn't remember how available it was. Because I walked in just kind of looking at that. I walked into about 4 or 5 different stores and didn't see it at all. So I kind of said, I'm not going to include it.
I see it pretty regularly.
And you probably do. I'm probably not looking at the right stores. It's probably out there more than I think it is. I just didn't find it. But, Chris, what did you have first? This was a tough category because of the proof.
Yeah, so I thought this was the toughest category of the 5. I really struggled. I thought about it a lot. When you're talking about 130 proof bourbon, again, it just limits, 130 proof bourbon, and it's on the shelves.
Yeah.
For example, again, I used to see Booker's on the shelf all the time. It didn't matter until they figured out, that, there's this whole thing going on with now they got these limited releases and all this. And it was before it was just Booker's.
Yeah.
It was just Booker's. It was on the shelf. There were lots of it. Now, I don't think
Used to be about
Booker's,
$65.
It was
now
$65.
It's over $100.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't find it. Or it's hard to find. And I think now, of course, Booker's would not be a good comparison from a flavor perspective. I think it's, obviously got that different profile.
Totally different, yeah.
Yeah, so it would have only really been a replacement for the proof. So I went a little weird on this one. I went with, I'll just tell you, I went with Wild Turkey Rare Breed.
Okay.
And I'll tell you
Solid
why.
pick.
I'm glad you think so, because it's a little strange, because first of all, it's 117 proof, something like that.
116.8.
Yeah, 116.8, but it's an uncut bourbon. And what I think there are some similarities. Again, you may have to stretch a little bit, but what I get from Rare Breed is this smokiness, and which I think you can also get from Stagg, and weird things like licorice, and along with things you would expect, orchard fruits and those sorts of flavors. But it's that smokiness that you get, at least I get, that I think is super interesting, that you can find in Stagg. And I also just really like it. I think it's really good. So ultimately I came down to, this is what I'm picking.
And you're cutting the price by about $15.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
and it's available.
I don't know if you are anymore. Well, it's about $50 now.
Is it?
It went up to 48 everywhere I see it.
Okay.
It's got a
because
little
I think
bump in
Stagg
it.
Junior is about $60.
It's $5.60, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Rare Breed has
A little
gone
bit
up
less,
a little
but
bit.
yeah, it has.
And you can find it. I mean, it's available
For now.
So yeah, for now. Again, a lot of these things, right? I agree. But anyway, that's where I went with this one.
I will tell you, I didn't pick that bourbon.
I can't believe you didn't pick
Mainly because I already had 2 Wild Turkeys on my list, was the main reason.
Okay, well, what'd you go with,
I
buddy?
do have 2 honorable mentions in this category, Rare Breed being one of them. I'll just let you know.
Okay.
that. What I ended up going with was a Jim Beam product. Any idea where I'm going with that? What's the age on Stagg?
7-ish years
Yes,
or something?
6 to 8, I think, something like that. So I tried to find something that was in that age category.
I know where you're going.
And then I tried to find something at least 120 proof because, again, to your point, Chris, finding something between 100, I would say low 120s to the 130s like a Stagg is. I was going to say Stagg Junior, but it's no longer a junior.
It's just Stagg.
It's just Stagg.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially finding it on the shelf, readily available all the time. What I settled on, which I think is a fantastic pour, and I really like this profile. I'm a fan of peanuts. Carter, you want to let it out of the bag?
Knob Creek.
Knob Creek, 9-year, 120 proof.
It's funny that's my honorable mention.
Is that your honorable mention?
Yes, because I think that is a great. I think again, you could bicker about the flavor profile because these Beam products tend to have this nutty, or you could say slightly vegetal, note, which I like these, by the way. I like the Beam products. The vegetal thing, to me, is noticeable if you compare it side by side to something else. It doesn't have it. But if you don't have it, Like I've drank a lot of Knob Creek in my life.
I love Knob Creek.
Yeah, I mean, but anyway, I just want to tell you, I think that's a really good pick.
I thought, and again, it's tough to find bottles in that what you would put in that category. I found that one the Rare Breed was definitely one I was considering. I absolutely love that bottle. I do have another honorable mention, but I'll let you go, Carter. Do you have one for that category?
Yeah, it's sitting right there. The 1792 full proof.
That's what is that? 125?
125.
Yeah.
So I mean,
solid.
Again, I didn't want to use too much 1792 stuff here, but I just think if you're looking for something that's more in that Stagg Junior or Stagg now category, this is pretty damn close.
Yeah, I like that.
You have another?
No, I was just saying. I was just thinking that it's fascinating that we all, for the most part, except for the one, we all pick different bourbons.
Yeah,
and I think that's just so cool that obviously the three of us, we like bourbon, we know something about bourbon, but we didn't just run to the exact same things. But then when we talked about them and you would mention something I'd think, oh yeah, that's a really good idea.
Oh yeah.
And that was the fun part about doing this was the listeners would get not just 5 that we agreed on that are good substitutes, but potentially, 15 other than maybe 12 if you take out the cask strength.
Yeah.
But I do have one more honorable mention that I think is way undervalued, underappreciated. It's a $20 to $25 bottle. It's not got the proof that you would, it's not that 120 proof. It's not too far from the Rare Breed proof. It's Old Granddad 114.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pours that I think a lot of people just overlook, just don't buy it.
It's for the money, one of the best. I mean,
even their bonded could have been.
The bond is fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's great. I did have one more honorable mention that I also brought here, and this is not necessarily sitting on the shelf, but you'll occasionally run into. In Louisiana, I see it pretty often.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. Glenn tells me he sees it over there quite a bit.
Yeah, Elijah Craig barrel proof. Like we're looking at a 12-year Heaven Hill product. Man,
if we could ever do a pick of that.
Well, we did do a pick.
What?
Yeah, remember? I have.
Where's the barrel?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Our barrel.
Yeah, they lost the barrel. So anyway, I would say this. I mean, you 12 years. They have 3 releases every year, and and it's pretty good stuff. I'm not the hugest Heaven Hill fan, but I find these to be pretty interesting.
I think those are fantastic. It's been a while since I dabbed back into those. And I remember, Sandra, you poured me that blind a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't had one. This was the A9 or the 917C, and she poured it blind, and I went, okay, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And when I realized what it was, I thought it was Elijah Craig. I didn't know which one it was or what year.
Yeah.
I kind of revisited those and went, okay, I for whatever reason, I thought it was a profile I kind of just didn't like anymore. But not having it after several months and then having it again, I went, no, I really do enjoy this. It's really, really good.
The thing I really like about, Heaven Hill is the customer service.
Don't get me started, Carter.
Right. Anyway, that's...
I don't know if you ever heard,
dive into some of our episodes sometime, and you might hear a few comments here about that particular distillery.
Not our favorite place to pick a barrel. We'll just say that.
Yeah,
sounds like it.
Great product, bad customer service.
Yeah. But anyway, so Chris, what do you think? Oh, you went Rare Breed. You went. Oh, we're going honorable mentions.
That was your honorable mention. My two were Rare Breed and Old Granddad 114, and your honorable mention was the. What was your honorable mention, Chris?
Well, now I shifted to something else mentally, so now I can't remember what my
your pick for that was Rare Breed.
Rare Breed, yeah.
And your honorable.
It was
mention?
one thing you mentioned. Now I can't remember.
Oh, it was.
It was a Knob Creek.
The
yeah,
9-year
the Knob
120.
Creek. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a Knob Creek, which, my honorable mentions in general, if we just takeaway comparison, like Knob Creek, like the basic Knob Creek, it's basic, it's 9-year Knob Creek. But the other one is Baker's.
Oh, yeah.
Which,
for a single barrel.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and talk about things not getting enough love. And you can find this. Now, it's less available than it used to be. But to me, and I've been drinking Baker's for a long time. And
So you drink the old small batch bottles.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. When they had this small batch collection.
Yeah.
And now it's different in terms of, age statements and the way they market it and how available it is. But again, it is a great bourbon for the price, and you can still find it on a shelf.
Do you have any qualification for, what you would buy when you look at those? Because I do, and I think you do.
Yeah. For sure.
So because there's information on there that when I read the information, it's either a yes or a no.
Okay, so what's your yes or no? How do you...
It's got to be 8 years or more for me to buy it.
Yeah.
If it's 7 years, 8 months, 7 years, 3 months.
Right.
I've tried those, and they've never been a hit for
They
us.
don't perform as well.
And we were recently at a cocktail bar, Julep in Houston, before we were going to dinner. And I said, what's the age on that bottle? And she brought it over, it wasn't open. It was 7 years, 6 months.
Right.
I said, let me just try it. And the nose was fantastic.
Yeah.
But then I took a sip and went, yep, same old.
Yeah, that's an issue, definitely.
I've found that the finish is a little fleeting on the 7 years, and then for some reason that few extra months just makes a difference.
So have you ran into that? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, yes, I noticed it, and it's funny. It's something that comes up. This is so random in a way, but my wife just walked in, and we were just last night. This is wine, but it's the similar issue where I won't name the producer because I don't want to throw shade at any wine producer, but it's a very well-known California Pinot Noir that's expensive. And we opened 2 bottles, 2 different vintages, and for whatever reason, the concentration wasn't there. Yeah. And both of them, one worse than the other. But yeah, there's something to that. Like we've talked about balance and complexity, and to me, the other issue is, and we talked about length, the other issue is concentration. Like if it's not concentrated enough, it doesn't have enough substance to it, it just falls short.
Way short. So donut hole in the palate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, that can happen. But overall, Baker's is solid. You can find it.
If you get an 8-year anything, 8-year plus.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely, when I find them, I buy them because I think they're fantastic.
And I actually really like the new bottle and all that kind of stuff. It's just that
topper?
That plastic topper is really cheap, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be badass, and then it's not.
Yeah, my coffee in the morning weighs more. My beans that I grind for coffee weigh more than that topper.
Right.
Step up your game. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
What about my coffee?
No. I'm saying the topper game.
Yeah, I agree with that. It looks nice, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Chris, I've had a lot of fun, man.
This was so much fun.
Great.
Thank you for having me. I've just really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks for coming. Thanks for bringing the bourbons too. This was
we got
excellent.
I don't know how quickly Carter's got to get out of here, but we got a couple more maybe to try before.
Yeah, maybe we'll have one last pour, and then and we'll make it a good one so everybody can be jealous.
And we're gonna do our part, Carter, and go have a double.
There you go.
And we're gonna report back.
Give it another chance.
Okay, but again, get the double, and then get the animal style fries.
And as a meal, this is gonna wow us.
It will.
Okay.
And again, don't focus on how many patties there are with the 75 cents extra.
They're going to say, don't focus on your wife.
Well, don't listen to her either. Yeah. Listen, okay. Let me just say, in and out. I know you don't like the line. I don't like the line either. Nobody does. I get that, and you're right. Like I heard you on the podcast talking about Chick-fil-A. What they do in that line is insane. How they get people through that, and In-N-Out hasn't figured that out. So there's that, but I will take an In-N-Out double and animal fries any day.
With
it's delicious.
The line, is it worth the wait?
It is to me.
Okay.
It is to me. But again, I get that there's a cost to that line. The other thing I will say now, their vanilla shake. Do you like vanilla shakes? Do you like?
I absolutely love
Yeah.
vanilla
Okay.
shake.
Doesn't.
So I have never had it, so I'll give that a
Their
go.
vanilla shake. Now, if you want to really make a meal, you get the double, the animal style fries, and a vanilla shake. I mean, come on.
It's a winner.
Yeah, it is. And it's heaven.
I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm going to give it a fair evaluation.
I'll do the
Not
same.
comparing it to anything else, because sometimes you
Right.
fall into this. So I'm going to eat it on its own and tell you how much I enjoy it.
You know how we've talked about this before about how like we do this in the whiskey world.
I just want to know why Amy's shaking her head like
Well,
this.
Amy disagrees with everything I say. What are you talking about? I've had to live with this all day long. She's disagreeing with things I say.
I don't have that.
So
issue.
it doesn't, there's no purchase to it as to any specific item. It's literally just that she's disagreeing with me all day long.
But
Against the grain.
I'm glad to hear your relationship is similar to mine. But
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get Chris back on for another show when we do our top 5 burger joints.
Oh my gosh.
Because I want to see where In-N-Out ranks all time. I'm assuming it's number 1. But when we start talking about, we won't get into it, but like Five Guys and things like that.
I have opinions about all those. I've had all those. So yeah,
I
we
think the
should do
top
it.
5 burgers, Chris may have to come back on.
okay,
with that.
let's do it.
I love it.
Let's
We'll
do
talk
it. Maybe it could be a Houston episode where we cook some burgers.
There you go.
That could happen too. You never
Love
know.
that.
And if that happens, then a Boozie's in the play.
Yeah, you got to go there.
I want to
This is
go
our
there.
favorite champagne place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I want to go there.
So, Chris, had a lot of fun. This has been a lot of fun doing this episode. And looking forward to having you on future shows for sure.
Thank you very much to both of you.
Carter, any last words? Drink more bourbon?
Yeah, it's
Don't
pretty
chase
good.
the tater bottles?
I mean, chase them, but there's alternatives.
Yeah, good ones.
Real good ones.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour. Wild Turkey 1855 Reserve coming up soon.
Oh, yes. Be jealous.